The International Criminal Court, established in 2002, was created to bring justice to perpetrators of genocide, war crimes, crimes against humanity, and the crime of aggression. However, the court's effectiveness and legitimacy have been widely questioned. One of the most vocal critiques has been United States, which contends that the ICC has no jurisdiction, legitimacy, or authority over American citizens or actions.
And the ICC has no jurisdiction, no legitimacy, and no authority.
Despite these challenges, the ICC has 123 member states. However, several major nations, including the US, Russia, and China, are not part of the court and do not accept its jurisdiction. The US has even threatened severe actions against ICC if it attempts to prosecute Americans or Israeli people, particularly in relation to alleged war crimes in Gaza and in Afghanistan. Furthermore, the US has objected to any potential investigation. Another criticism of ICC is that it disproportionately targets African nations. Out of the 26 cases brought before the court so far, all have involved crimes committed in Africa. The ICC has also been examining alleged crimes outside of Africa. In September 2018, it announced an investigation into the treatment of Rohingya Muslims in Myanmar, particularly regarding ethnic violence. However, Myanmar is not a member of ICC and does not recognize its jurisdiction. And in order to overcome this obstacle, the court determined that elements of the alleged crimes took place in Bangladesh, which is a member of ICC, and this has allowed the court to open a preliminary examination into the matter. However, it remains uncertain whether the perpetrators can be brought to trial, as the ICC lacks its own police force or enforcement body. It would need the cooperation of the Myanmar to extradite suspects, which poses a significant challenge. These issues highlight the difficulties the ICC faces in carrying out its mandate, especially in the absence of support from some of the world's most powerful nations. In this regard, this particular podcast by Rahul sir is going to throw light on some of the more burning issues faced by the International Criminal Court.
So, the reason you have not been able to hear the sum in the beginning of the video is that it takes efforts to speak or to throw light on such an issue, as there are a lot of technicalities involved when we have to discuss about the functioning of the ICC and the way or the kind of ties US shared with ICC. So I'm going to discuss about the shortcomings of ICC, how ICC is different from ICJ, and what kind of ties US shared with ICC. Organization is in the news as Trump has signed an executive order.
We start in the United States, where Donald Trump has denounced the International Criminal Court, accusing it of illegitimate and baseless actions against the US and Israel.
Trump has threatened that those who are involved in investigations which can clearly be a threat to US national security and for its allies, that is Israel, they have to face significant repercussions, and in this context he has passed an executive order. Now this order has come after the condemnation has came from the agency.
He said it had abused its power by issuing arrest warrants for the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and his former Defence Minister Yoav Gallant. The court alleges they committed war crimes and crimes against humanity in Gaza.
First thing is this aspect, that why this is in news. Now, important thing is to understand what kind of ties, what kind of relation ICC shares with UN. Okay, always there is a confusion between the two bodies, that is ICC and ICJ. So the important is to understand what kind of ties ICC shares with the United Nations. To understand the present functioning of ICC, let's go into the past. What led to the emergence of ICC? Now, after the end of Second World War, the Allied powers created Nuremberg Tribunal to persecute the Nazi officials for war crimes in Germany against the Jews. So the roots of ICC lies in the Nuremberg Tribunal, and the need was felt that we need a body to ensure we need a permanent body to ensure that such war crimes should not happen again in future. So we need a independent investigation agency. So the roots of ICC lies in this particular roots of ICC lies in this particular tribunal. Okay, that is Nuremberg Tribunal. Now, the need was felt that we need a permanent court in the world. So ICC as an agency was established. ICC is not an agency of UN, though ICC in 1998 UN General Assembly passed a resolution for the creation of this particular body. ICC is an independent investigation agency. It is not related to UN as an agency. There are so many agencies of UN. UN as a body has organs, agencies and programs. Like UN agencies are WHO is an agency of UN. Okay. World Health Organization. UNESCO is an agency of UN. ICC is not an agency, but it is related to UN. And the ICC shares a relationship agreement or a cooperation agreement with the UN known as negotiated relationship agreement. So ICC shares a relationship agreement. It's not an agency. Okay. And thus ICC, its headquarters is in Hague, Netherlands, and there is another organ of UN, that is ICJ, International Court of Justice. It is one of the organ of UN. ICJ is to deal with the disputes between the member bodies, and ICC is a criminal court to ensure that those who are being blamed for genocide, war crimes, those individuals who are being blamed for such crimes, they need to be persecuted. Okay, so it is to persecute individuals, and ICJ is to settle the disputes between the member states. So the mandate of these two bodies is totally different. ICJ is an organ and ICC is an investigation agency, though having a cooperation agreement with UN, but it is not an agency of UN. ICC complements the national courts, and if the judicial system of the state is unable or unwilling to act against the individual, then ICC will intervene. Okay, so it is to complement the national courts. Now, what are the major shortcomings of ICC are? First, it does not have its own police to enforce its mandate. Second, it has failed to bring the major powers. It has failed to bring major powers as its members, like US, Russia, China. They are not the part of ICC. So major powers refuse to be a party to ICC. India is also not a member of International Criminal Court. So this is another major shortcoming, that it has failed to bring the major powers on board. The third is African leaders. They have blamed ICC that most of its area of operation lies within the African continent. Okay, so African states and the leaders are critical towards this particular aspect of ICC. Another blame of ICC is that it is able to prosecute the warlords and the rebel leaders, but it has failed to act against the major political leaders. So this is one of the major shortcomings of ICC. Okay, so I hope you are clear with the past of this agency, in which context it is in the news, what is the ground on which US is critical to ICC. US is not a member. Now, let's discuss a bit more about the kind of ties US shares with ICC. Now, US has always shared a very contentious kind of relationship with ICC. Now, it was Bill Clinton who made a lot of efforts towards the creation of this particular body. Okay, so he made a lot of efforts, we can say he played a very pivotal role towards the creation of this particular body. He signed the Rome Statute, but he never sent it to Congress to ratify it, as he was under this fear that its action can lead to the scrutiny of US actions. Also, US government has always been wary of having such a body which US cannot control through UNSC. So Bill Clinton signed the Rome Statute but never sent it to Congress to ratify. Then under the Bush administration, after Clinton, he took a very hostile attitude towards the International Criminal Court. It was Bush who started the war against terror. He announced the global war against terror after 9/11 and started a military action first in Afghanistan against Taliban and in 2003 in Iraq against Saddam Hussein, and later, and that is why he took a very hostile attitude towards ICC as he passed American Service Protection Act. It was the Bush administration who passed American Services Members Protection Act, which restricted the ICC's jurisdiction on the US military personnel, that their military personnel cannot be persecuted for any of their action. In fact, this law allowed the US government to take any action against ICC, and that is why this law got the nickname Hague Invasion Act, because ICC's headquarters is in Hague. So US can take an action against this particular court as per American Service Member Protection Act. So such a hostile attitude was taken by the President Bush. When Obama he became the president, he announced US started taking a very measured response towards the ICC. So US diplomats and officers started attending the ICC conferences. So US started its engagement with ICC under Obama administration. Despite started engagement, cooperation remained conditional. Cooperation remained conditional. This clearly speaks the kind of hypocrisy which prevails in world politics, that US made it very clear US will only going to cooperate and support those investigations that align with the US interests. So US clearly stated will only support those investigations which will support our interest. This is just the blatant assertion of the power politics and a clear projection of this aspect that states always go for the fulfillment of their national interest. Okay, so US is saying this thing, we will cooperate till the time it will serve our national interest. So we will not support any investigation which can undermine our interest. Biden became the president, he announced that US will be committed towards the rule-based order. US will try to strengthen the rule-based order. But there is a clear reflection of this aspect that despite saying this, Biden also reflects the double standards of US. So on what grounds we can say yes, even his actions reflects the double standard? As when ICC issued the arrest warrant against the President Putin of Russia, blaming him for war crimes in Ukraine, US endorsed the sanction. But when the same court issues the arrest warrant against the Israeli Prime Minister for doing war crimes in Gaza, US criticized. So this again reflects the double standard. Now Trump was critical towards ICC even in his first tenure, and now this time he is taking a more confrontationist attitude towards ICC, and this clearly reflects that the world order which was created by US itself after the end of Second World War is clearly under threat and it has become too fragile. So I hope this discussion would have helped you to understand the kind of ties US shares with International Criminal Court.